Young Sheldon EP justifies filling in all those gaps in the Big Bang Theory plot. Hello everyone, my name is Alana. Welcome to my channel. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And give this video a like. Up. Steve Holland, the executive producer of Young Sheldon, defends the prequel series for introducing numerous plot holes in the Big Bang Theory. Although the spin-off's original concept was unrelated to the nerdy sitcom, it was modified to serve as Sheldon's backstory. However, in its 6 years on the air, Young Sheldon has repeatedly defied the established canon of the Big Bang Theory, despite ostensibly residing in the same universe. Young Sheldon addresses the breakdown of Mary and George's marriage, a story that Sheldon frequently brought up in the Big Bang Theory. Holland argues that the prequel series violates historical continuity. He acknowledges in a recent interview with TV Line that maintaining consistency is difficult and that they are unwilling to be forced into a joke while creating Young Sheldon. See his complete quotation below. Related, Sheldon's worst Big Bang Theory could have been explained by a Young Sheldon tell a lie. A significant issue is the plot discrepancies between the Big Bang Theory and Young Sheldon. Some of them are modest and designed to focus on the narrative of the prequel. Since they don't significantly affect the canon of the nerd-centric sitcom, these contradictions are hardly catastrophic. However, others bring up significant issues with Sheldon's adult life in Pasadena. Mary's own adultery, which was never brought up in the Big Bang Theory, is a prime illustration of this. Some parts of Sheldon's life in the Big Bang Theory are also altered by Paige's plotline in Young Sheldon, especially in regards to the development of his romance with Amy. The same sentiment is observed with Dr. Sturgis. The strongest justification for Young Sheldon to disregard the Big Bang Theory, however, is the notion that it sets up the majority of the Coopers for an unhappy future. According to canon, Missy won't be able to realize her full potential and Georgie and Mandy will split up. Young Sheldon must address certain stories if CBS chooses to maintain the notion that both series are set in the same time period. This includes the story of Sheldon cheating on George in TBBT. Although Holland states that it won't occur in Season 6, he does not promise that it will be investigated. The prequel should reveal the occurrence, given the extent to which the encounter affected Sheldon. If you've ever watched Young Sheldon, you know that it's not just a cute prequel to the Big Bang Theory. It's also a show that has caused a lot of head-scratching when it comes to the continuity between the two. There are several moments that don't quite line up with the Big Bang Theory, leaving fans to wonder, what happened to all those plot holes? Well, in a recent interview, Young Sheldon executive producer Stephen Molero defended the creative decisions that led to these apparent inconsistencies, explaining how he and the writers approached the tricky task of balancing the two shows while keeping the humor intact. The Big Bang Theory ran for a remarkable 12 seasons, and its enormous success left the world with beloved characters like Sheldon Cooper, Leonard Hofstadter, Penny, and the rest of the gang. So when Young Sheldon was greenlit, the task for the writers and producers became a delicate balancing act. How do you create a show that honors the original, while also finding room for new storytelling? Well, sometimes that meant bending or breaking the rules of continuity. For example, many fans were puzzled by the contradiction between Sheldon's backstory on The Big Bang Theory and what we see in Young Sheldon. On The Big Bang Theory, Sheldon frequently refers to his childhood and makes several statements about his family dynamics, relationships, and experiences that don't always align with what's depicted in Young Sheldon. To the casual viewer, this might seem like a glaring inconsistency. But according to Molero, these discrepancies were not accidental. They were purposeful, creative choices made to tell a fun, who also worked as an executive producer on The Big Bang Theory, address these plot holes head-on. The goal of Young Sheldon was never to be a strict prequel, he explained. It's about taking the essence of Sheldon Cooper, the unique perspective he brings to the world, and translating that into stories that work for a family comedy show. If we were too obsessed with continuity, we might have lost that essence. In other words, Malero argues that while fans of The Big Bang Theory may notice discrepancies between the two shows, those inconsistencies are part of the larger creative vision. They weren't made out of negligence, but rather to serve the story of a child prodigy growing up in Texas. As he puts it, Young Sheldon is a show about the emotional and comedic journey of Sheldon growing up. We wanted to give him the room to develop into the Sheldon that we know and love in The Big Bang Theory. If we followed every detail from the original show, it would have limited our storytelling. Another layer to the debate centers around whether or not young Sheldon is bound by the rules of nostalgia. Many viewers tuned into the show specifically to learn more about the beloved character's early years, and that often comes with high expectations regarding continuity. However, Malero pushes back against the idea that Young Sheldon is a fan-serviced show that exists purely to fill in the blanks of Sheldon's backstory. We want the audience to engage with Sheldon's development, he said. It's not just about answering every question fans may have, but exploring how Sheldon's experiences shaped the person he would later become. That means some things are going to be a little different. By leaning into this creative freedom, young Sheldon is able to inject humor and surprise into Sheldon's younger years without being overly concerned with maintaining rigid continuity with The Big Bang Theory. Some fans, however, are not as forgiving. They argue that the plot holes are more than just creative choices. They feel like oversights or worse, lazy writing. After all, how hard could it have been to keep certain elements consistent between the two shows, particularly when The Big Bang Theory established so much of Sheldon's backstory? Malero addressed this criticism as well. If you're a fan of The Big Bang Theory, you're going to notice some differences, he admitted. But ultimately, Young Sheldon stands on its own merits as a show. It's not just there to be a glorified prequel. It's a different narrative that happens to share some of the same characters. We made the creative choice to let the show evolve in its own way. One example that fans continue to point out is the portrayal of Sheldon's relationship with his father, George Cooper Sr., on The Big Bang Theory. Sheldon refers to his father with disdain and bitterness, mentioning how George Sr. wasn't particularly involved in his life. However, Young Sheldon depicts a more complex father-son dynamic, where George is shown as loving, supportive, and even a bit of a fun character. Again, this change has raised questions about consistency, but Malero defended this change, saying, "We wanted to explore the nuances of that relationship. George's character is a big part of Sheldon's development. He wasn't the perfect dad, but he loved his family in his own way." While some fans will never fully embrace the contradictions between Young Sheldon and The Big Bang Theory, there's an undeniable appeal to Malero's philosophy of storytelling. He has turned what could be perceived as plot holes into an opportunity for richer, more complex characters and narratives. By not being overly obsessed with the continuity between the two shows, Malero and his team have created something fresh, a show that can stand on its own while still delighting fans of the original series. The bottom line is this: Young Sheldon is not simply a prequel designed to explain every detail of Sheldon's life. It's an exploration of a young genius and his family. The plot holes, well, they're just part of the creative process, and if you look at them through that lens, they're not mistakes. They're opportunities for the writers to keep things interesting, fun, and dynamic. In the end, it's the heart and humor of Sheldon's journey that resonates with audiences, and as long as that remains intact, the plot holes might not be so problematic after all. So the next time you find yourself questioning a Young Sheldon plot inconsistency, just remember, sometimes the best stories come from taking a little creative license. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and stay with us.